Hey, so I have been watching season 2 of The Boys, and I have some thoughts about something I've been wanting to talk about for a while, but never did because I'm lazy as fuck. So this is about season 2 of The Boys, and specifically Becca. So Rebecca, or Becca, plays a pretty classic role in these types of stories. She's Butcher's wife, who's, we're told, assaulted and killed by Homelander in the first season. And she's playing the same role as John Wick's wife, Ethan Hunt's wife, like any of those types of like, where the male hero is like gritty and dark and a killer, and then he had this like perfect wife who was killed and acts as a source of motivation. So Becca, let's talk about this bitch. So this is what we know about her from the first season. She's Butcher's wife. She was assaulted and probably killed by Homelander. She's been missing for 8 years, and she's the main source of one of the main character, Billy Butcher's, motivation for like literally the entire plot of The Boys, okay? And in the first season, she plays a very similar role to the same archetype in like other shows. In stories where there's like a dark male hero who is morally gray, he usually has a love interest that's like perfect, and their death is the motivation for what he does. So you think like John Wick is like this hardened killer, but his wife is probably a nice lady, but she's dead. That's the whole thing. Like it's like these hardened killing men, and then they have these female love companions that are on this like pedestal. They're like these martyrs, and they're dead. So they don't exist in the story. They just have a role, and the role is to motivate a lot of the plot. So I would say Diane from BoJack Horseman is a pretty good deconstruction of this, actually, because BoJack is also a dark, morally gray protagonist, but in BoJack, Diane is treated as a character rather than as a role in the story. So she has her own arcs, and she's not a perfect martyr, and she's not how BoJack sees her originally, which isn't true of the other women I mentioned, because those women are dead in the story, so they can't change and evolve. They're only what the protagonist saw them as, which is perfect. Here's the thing about Becca. So The Boys has a lot of really interesting roles for a lot of the characters. I would say all of the villains are very well developed, and all of the heroes are very well developed. I think it's a great show. But in season 1, Becca had a very, very basic role to play. She was just the dead wife, and that's it. She was just Billy's motivation. She wasn't a person. She wasn't a character. And that worked totally fine in the first season, because there was so many other interesting characters and stuff going on that like she didn't really need to be like a fully developed person. She could be that perfect martyr. And that totally worked with Billy's character, because Billy's character is similar to John Wick or any of those other morally gray heroes, right? So he's just playing a classic role, and she's playing a classic role, and that was fine. But at the end of the first season, they did something that I just loved, which was in the final episode of the first season, it's revealed that Rebecca is still alive, and that she actually had Homelander's son, and basically Billy's entire motivation is just blown up. So his martyr dead wife is not dead at all. And everything he thought he knew that motivated his entire character for so long is worthless. It's just lies. And so this twist is amazing for Billy's character, but I think what it really did is it saved Becca's character. I think Becca not being assaulted and having made the choice to sleep with Homelander makes her an infinitely more interesting character than just the perfect martyr that we've seen women play for a very long time. So a lot of people interpreted that scene as Becca being a cheater, not a assault victim. And I believe that watching the second season for around 3 of the 4 episodes. And then in the 4th episode, she just flat out says, I was raped by Homelander. And I was like, oh shit. So, and I really didn't like that, because in the first season, they really, in my opinion, made it seem like she was not assaulted. So in the last episode, the episode where we learn Becca's alive, they show Homelander having sex with Madeline Stillwell, and they deliberately show this scene where he's following her directions exactly. Like he does something and she's like, no, and he immediately stops. Like they're very clear to show that. And it's very weird to show this scene where Homelander is being super responsive to this woman, and then also show that his assault victim is totally fine, and then somehow want us to conclude that he still did the assault. So I, from that, thought like maybe Homelander didn't do it, and then there were a couple other things that made me think he didn't do it. One of them being that when he talks to Billy at the end of the episode, in their final confrontation, he mocks Billy about Rebecca, and he calls her like a hell of a lay and all of this stuff. And Homelander is like a huge piece of shit, right? So if he raped her, I truly believe in that moment he would say that. He would be like, he would be like Bryce Walker. He would be like, and then I fucked her.
And I fucked her from behind. Hard. Until she cried.
Like, that's something Homelander would say, and that would be totally in character. But he was talking about this woman like he didn't know what happened to her. Like, he was talking about this woman like he just had sex with her one time, and that was it. Like, and you know, he made her come 3 times. Like, you know what I mean? Like, he was not talking about it the way a villain would boast of his deeds if he actually, like, assaulted her. And earlier when he's asking Silva, like, what happened to Becca, it's pretty clear that he genuinely doesn't know what happened to Becca, but if he assaulted her, he knows, like, Vought would have had to clean it up, right? So why would he be asking that? It's like with the Deep. When Starlight comes clean about what happened, the Deep is like, oh, well, you'll make it go away like you always do, right? So obviously, if Homelander did something like that, he would assume that Vought would make it go away, so he wouldn't go to Vought being like, so what happened? Because he would know, but he didn't know. So to me, because of those things, because Homelander didn't seem to know what happened, he didn't rub the assault in Billy's face at all, and we're shown this weird scene at a party where Becca meets Homelander and she goes like full fangirl. She's like, oh my god, like she seems like totally into him. And then in the episode right after that, we see Homelander have a super consensual sex scene. It really appeared that the directors were telling us that Becca was not assaulted. Like, all the clues led to that conclusion, in my opinion, and a lot of people's opinion that I saw. A lot of people who were reacting or just posting online believe that Becca wasn't assaulted. But in the second season, Becca has this line with Homelander where he says something to her like, what I did to you was give you a son, which is pretty rapey. And then the episode right after that, she just straight up says, after Homelander raped me. So, like, he did it. And I really don't like that. Because here's the thing. Becca cheating on the husband that adored her makes her as morally gray as any of the male characters, which is actually interesting to watch. That means Becca isn't this classic savior complex type of woman. She's just like a person who had a fling with a celebrity. Like, that's like, it works like completely with the themes of The Boys. So she's not like some pedestal savior. She's not even like Starlight. She's just a lady. And I think that would have been much better, because that means Billy would have to not only confront the fact that the enemy he thought was his enemy all along didn't do the cause of his motivation, Homelander. He would also have to confront the fact that Becca wasn't this like perfect savior that he saw her as. Like, she didn't deserve to be on that pedestal, that she was a human being who made mistakes like he does, and he would have to struggle with forgiving her. And that would be interesting for his arc. And it would also be interesting for her, because it's pretty clear that she does love Butcher, but she still cheated on him, you know what I mean? And I don't know, I just think that would be really interesting. Like, if Becca was this female character who was put on this pedestal, but then it's revealed that she didn't deserve to be on the pedestal in the first place, and she had her own agency and desires, and what Butcher saw her as wasn't who she was at all. Like, I think that's so much more interesting than that she's just like John Wick's wife 2.0, which is what she is now. Because now she's trapped in this situation where she's raising Homelander's rape baby, and that's like, I don't know. Then it's just like, then she needs to be rescued. She's like this damsel. Something was done to her, so no agency. And now she's suffering the consequences. So this whole arc is just gonna make Billy want to hunt Homelander more instead of making him confront his own like ideals. Anyway, I just think it was a very poor character choice. Like, if she truly did nothing wrong and Homelander just did this to her, then the first season had some very bad framing choices. That's not the type of thing that should be a mystery. I even thought in that third episode, when Billy like says what happened with Homelander, I thought she was gonna tell him that she wasn't assaulted. Like, they were really framing it like that. And there are just a lot of things that don't make sense. Like, Homelander could have anyone he wants because he's Homelander, but he doesn't have like a trail of victims the way the Deep does. So what does that mean? What was so special about Becca? And then why was he so confused about what happened to her? Like, wouldn't he have known that Stillwell would cover up his assault the same way she does when any of the other 7 do shady shit? Like, why was he so confused? I don't know. I really just don't like that change, because now Becca is boring. She's just another female in distress, and Butcher doesn't have to confront any ideals about her. And she's just gonna play the role of needing to be rescued for the whole season and probably die. I'm assuming she's gonna die. Maybe Homelander will kill her or make his son kill her. I don't know. I just don't like it. And if she cheated, then that would make her relationship with Homelander a lot more interesting, because that means he cost her everything because of her own actions, not because of his actions. And this is the final thing I wanted to touch on. It's like this needless violence that happens a lot. In Game of Thrones, having Joffrey assault those hookers, and we already knew he was a monster. Ramsay, a lot of things he does. And like in this show, we already know Homelander's a terrible person. They didn't need to make him a rapist, you know what I mean? And I actually think it hurt the story to make him like that, because now he's just truly there's nothing redeemable about him. Not that there was anyway, because he was a murderous psychopath, but having him not, I don't know, there's something different about assault. Like, I can't explain it, but I think a lot of people would agree with me that there is a line between murder and assault, and a rapist is different than a murderer in the eyes of the audience. Like, you can love Darth Vader, even though he killed like a lot of people, but if he had raped a single person, you can't love that character. Like, it's just different in your head. And I just really don't think it served the story at all to make Homelander just even worse than he already was, when they'd already established that he was pretty bad. And I just think it really weakened Becca's character and made her into a stereotype, which the show is usually pretty good at avoiding. So I was pretty disappointed with that. Maybe they'll reveal, and now we definitely need some details about what the hell happened between those two, because again, in season 1, they laid all these like clues. I don't know, like, what the hell happened? Why did he go after this one woman? Why did he not understand what happened? Why didn't he throw it in Billy's face when he had the chance? Why? I don't know. It's very confusing. So yeah, I'm just kind of disappointed with that. Oh, and now Billy's motivation is just going to stay the same. Like, he doesn't have to change at all. He's just going to keep playing the same role, which is also kind of lame. So that's my complaints with the new Becca information. Really wish they didn't do that, but I don't know. The rest of the season has been pretty good, so maybe, it'll be okay. Or, maybe she'll just die and fully serve the role of the John Wick's wife 2.0, and then we don't have to care about her development or who she is as a person, because she'll just be Butcher's dead bitch, Anyway, see y'all.